welcome to Sunday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, where, apologies, I'm still on my laptop while Mark and I try and fit in holidays around creating 2 videos a day and keeping the run going, which is it's now several years, isn't it? When was the first COVID lockdown? I want to say something like, oh no, I'm not actually sure. I want to guess, but it feels like it's one of those memories that's hidden away. Sort of all the trauma of it has been locked into the background, but it was many years ago. So we've been making 2 videos a day for a very long time, and I want to keep that going. So I hope it's okay. I have got my normal microphone, but without a pop filter. I'm on the laptop, obviously. There's a bit of dishwasher noise in the background, and obviously I'm not in the usual location. But anyway, hopefully we'll still have fun together. We're going to have a look at a puzzle called Cornered Colours by Leonhard Kohl-Lörting. Now, I remember I've done at least 1 or 2 of Leonhard's puzzles before, and they've always been brilliant. And this one has a very, well, it's a twist on a classic. So it's a yin-yang puzzle, but involving negative numbers. So I've noticed, for example, look, there's a -7 cage in the bottom left-hand corner. Yeah, so this is what we're going to have a go at, and I'll read you the rules properly in a moment or two's time. Now, what have I got to tell you about? I'm going to go to my trusty puzzle book in which I've been writing the things I wanted to mention today. I'll start off by just saying that on the 1st of August, we have got a brand new Sudoku Hunt coming up for you, and it's the work of Skojo, Jojo, and Jobo, who insist they are 3 different people. We'll take them on trust. I think they like to be known as Skojojobo for obvious reasons, which I rather like. And they've created, given the similarities of their names, they thought a puzzle hunt based on clones would be a good idea. So that is what they've made, and it is really rather special. So that's coming out 4 p.m. UK time on the 1st of August, not long away now. And that's what I wanted to tell you. I've also got birthdays. I'm going to be catching up on birthdays over the coming days, so apologies for that. If I did miss your birthday, hopefully you were warned that that there might be a delay. But let's do some now. So Lloyd, I know you turned 24. I know it's a few days ago now. Forgive me for that. But your fiancée Jasmine wrote to us and told us that you watch every night and it helps you to sleep. It's always been my soporific effect on people has always been a bugbear in real life, but actually it works very well on the internet. And I think we have to agree, Lloyd, this does make Jasmine the #1 fiance, which I know was a title that she was gunning for. So Lloyd, many happy returns. I hope you're also able to get some chocolate cake, obviously. Next, back on the 16th of July. It was Tony's birthday over there in Germany, turning 53. And I know this because your husband Adrian wrote to us and told us you'd been on a US trip where with spotty internet. I found that hard to believe. But I hope you're caught up on Cracking the Cryptic videos now. And Tony, many happy returns. In fact, this house I'm in at the moment, the internet speed here is about 10 times that I get at home. So, I mean, that's good. That's good. Well, it's good to be here. Next, Chris, you turned a secret age, also on the 16th of July, an age I'd better not reveal. I know this because your wife Rachel wrote to us. I think the 2 of you are in Pittsburgh. So, Chris, I hope you had a great birthday with chocolate cake, of course. And that looks to be, that's my list of things. So I will shut my Taketa book and read you the rules of Cornered Colours by Leonhard Kohl-Lörting. They are as follows. We have got normal Sudoku rules apply, which means we've got to put the digits 1 to 9 once each in every row, in every column, and in every 3x3 box. We've got to shade some cells such that all shaded cells form an orthogonally connected area, and all unshaded cells form an orthogonally connected area, and no 2x2 area is entirely shaded or unshaded. So this is classic yin-yang is the logic problem, and I always do the same symbol to illustrate a yin-yang. Total shank there. A possible yin-yang shading would be... Oh, that green looks different to my normal green. Sorry if that offends anybody. It's slightly garish, isn't it? Or glaring. Maybe I'll change it to orange. There we go. So this would be a possible yin-yang shading, because if we study the grid, we can see all of the orange cells connect to all of the other orange cells through cells that share an edge. So if we were to add this cell to orange, now we would break the rules of the puzzle, because the orange cells are not the orange cells are not an orthogonally connected area, because this one only touches other oranges via a diagonal point, and that's not good enough. So this is fine. All of the oranges connect, all of the blues are orthogonally connected, and if you study the grid, you won't find a 2 by 2 area that is entirely one colour, which is another important thing that we have to make sure we achieve. Now, what else? Digits in cages may not repeat, and sum to the given clue. Okay, so that's normal killer Sudoku. However, in cages, shaded digits count as positive numbers and unshaded digits count as negative numbers. Now that is not normal at all. So I'm trying to think about, you can see several cages where there's definitely a problem. How can you have a 2 cage, for example? But let's look at the 16 cage here, just for the sake of exposition. What are we saying there? Yeah, okay, so we're saying that this 16 cage is quite interesting, actually. It's positive 16. So it must either be entirely positive, entirely shaded. So what's our shaded colour? Going to be grey, probably. So it's either entirely shaded, or it could have, I think, a maximum of 1 negative counting digit. Because if this was a negative counting digit, it would actually have to be a 1, wouldn't it? Because then these two cells, the positive digits, would have to sum to 17, and they can't sum to more than 17 because they're both in the same cage of the Sudoku, and they can't, and the same row. So this would have to be an 8-9 pair. It's already quite interesting, even just doing a little example. So do have a go. I have no idea how difficult this is. I know very little about it, other than it's called Cornered Colours, and it's by Leonhard. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual, but now I get to play. Let's get cracking. See, ordinarily, you would instantly hone in on this part of the grid and be able to use the secret to extract the value of this, because any box of a Sudoku, don't tell anyone this secret, but it adds up to 45, which is something I tell only my very favourite people. But here, because there's all sorts of negativity, no doubt, well, in fact, there must be negativity involved in those, that is not going to work. Perhaps what we need to do then is to talk about some other secrets. There are secrets of Yin-Yang. Yeah, I'm going to just mention those. They almost certainly are going to be important. So, first secret of Yin-Yang. You cannot create a checkerboard shading in this puzzle. So imagine we tried to shade like that. The puzzle is now broken, believe it or not. And that is because of the requirement that we connect orthogonally the greys and we connect orthogonally the greens. Because to achieve a connection of the greys, it doesn't matter what route we take. Let's say we do that. You can see now it's impossible to connect the greens orthogonally without going through the greys, which would imply one cell had 2 colours, which is not part of the rules. So we can't do that. Now the corollary of that, which is interesting, is that allows us to say something about the perimeter. We can't have too many changes of colour in the perimeter. We could have an entirely shaded perimeter and entirely unshaded perimeter. But if we start having perimeters that are 2 colours, let's say we had that and then we had a stretch of green. Now let's imagine now we wanted to have some more changes of colours and we did this. Then we can now think of the reason this is broken is it's a bit like the checkerboard problem. We have the requirement that this green on the right has to connect to the green on the left somehow. And again, it doesn't matter how we achieve that connection. We will isolate this grey on the perimeter from the rest of its grey friends on the perimeter. So you can't have more than 2 contiguous strings of colour in the perimeter. We can have some grey and we can have some green, but that's it. we can't have any more changes of colour, because to introduce more changes of colour gives us the checkerboard problem. Now I'm trying to think if there's any others, secrets of Yin-Yang that we need to... There was another secret of Yin-Yang, but I think it was the peddling pianist's complicated secret. And I hope we won't need that, because I can't remember what that secret was. Anyway, let's try and use that information. Normally with these puzzles, the way to start them is to try and find something about the perimeter. Although we've got very little in the perimeter here. So maybe what we do here is we try to shade cages which must have something wrong with them. Like this 2 cage. You can't just write double 1 into that, because it'll break Sudoku. So there is definitely some negativity associated with this cage. It's got to be both colours. And in fact, what that means is that those two are of the same parity. Because imagine one of these was a 5, then the other digit would have to be a 3 or a 7, wouldn't it, to make the 2 overall possible to reach. Sorry, there's all sorts of kitchen noises going on. Well, 5 here, that can't exist, can it? Because all 3 of the, if all 3 of these were the same colour, so they were all positive, the minimum sum they could have would be 1, 2, and 3, and that adds up to 6. So there's some jiggery-pokery going on with that 5 cage. Some jiggery-pokery going on with a 3-cell 4 cage as well. And okay, that's really not that's really not nearly enough. I see. Okay, let's have a quick look at the 7 cage here. Because now I think about it, that has got some interesting qualities. Now, could these all be positive digits? Well, yeah, in theory they could be. They could be 1, 2, and 4, and all positive, which is our shaded colour. So we could do that, but that's broken. That's broken from a yin-yang perspective, because we're not allowed to have any 2x2s of one colour. So this corner would have to be a green colour. But the implication of that is that the entire rest of the grid now cannot be green, because the greens wouldn't be connected. So the whole of the rest of the grid would be grey, and we get lots of 2x2s of grey. So that's not going to be correct, is it? So this one has got some, it's like the 5 cage. There's some quality of negativity about it. And that's going to be the same for this 7 cage and for this 7 cage as well, because that's -7. So it has the same principle applied to it. It can't be -1, -2, and -4, can it? So it's got to have some positivity to it. So I wonder whether or not, this is making me question, because this, if we could prove, if you could prove that there was always a positive digit in the wings of this one, and always a positive digit in the wings of this one, and always a negative digit in the wings of this one, then we could do something with the perimeter, couldn't we? So is it necessary, if you've got, could you have, well, okay, here is a minor point, but it's true. Could you only have 1 positive digit in this 7? Yeah, I can do this. If you only have 1 positive digit in the 7, let's make it as big as we can. It would be a 9. Now, the other 2 digits, let's make those as small as we can and say they're negative. They would be 1 and 2 negative. So the overall sum of the cage would be +6. So +9, -1, -2. Well, 6 is not equal to 7. So there is definitely, the way this 7 cage breaks down, the way this 7 cage breaks down, and in the other direction, the way this 7 cage breaks down, is it's got 2 positive digits and 1 negative. This has got 2 negatives and 1 positive. Now, if this has got 2 positive digits in it, is it possible that both of these squares are negative? Well, clearly not. And that's going to imply two negatives. So at least one, how are we doing? Actually, I'm going to take out some of the shading here because I want to focus in on these 7 cages. So I'm going to say at least one of those cells is positive. At least one of those cells is positive. And at least one of these cells is negative. So now, how must the perimeter work? Given we've got one of these is positive and one of these is positive, and they must join up in a continuous sequence, because if there was now, say we introduced a green here, well, now we've got one stretch of grey somewhere over in the top left, one stretch of grey somewhere in the bottom right, separated by 2 different stretches of green, and we've got a checkerboard problem. We can't have that. So we've got to join everything here up. All of that is positive. Now we don't know whether that positivity extends to these other possible cells, but it extends at least this far. That's now got to be unshaded to avoid a 2 by 2 there. And at least we've started. This is the good thing. It's a really nice idea, actually, isn't it? That the very special shape of a 7 cage forcing something about the perimeter, that's really clever setting. I'm just trying to see what it's doing. I'm sure it's doing something. One of those at least has to... Oh, okay. That is actually very interesting. Let's have a look at this 14 cage, because it's not possible for both of these to be positive, but 14 is quite a positive number in the context of these puzzles. So there's at least one more negative in one of these two, which means that the total sum of negativity in this cage is now at least -3, but the overall total is +14. So it must be an 8-9 pair. So this has got to be positive. Oh, I see. Yeah, this has now got to get out. That's beautiful. It's got to get out because it's got to touch the green, for example, that lives down there. So that's got to get out. That's got to be therefore positive. These are an 8-9 pair, offsetting a 1-2 pair here to make the mathematics work. This green domino has to get out, so that's got to be green. This is brilliant. That's got to be green to avoid a 2 by 2. That's got to be green to avoid a checkerboard there, which we've said we can't have. This has got to be green to avoid a 2 by 2. And all of a sudden we are cooking with gas. Now this cage is troubling now. So this is a funny old cage because it can't be a 1-2 pair anymore because of this square. So this is a positive and a negative cage, and we know that this one was a positive and a negative cage. And well, what does that mean? The answer is I'm not sure yet. It probably means something though. Right, hang about. When we did the example, there's something wrong with this cage. Well, how? Yeah, okay. So when we did the example over here, we looked at a situation where it involved a negative digit, didn't we? And what we said was it could involve a negative digit, but that negative digit would be a 1, and there would be 2 positive digits in the 16 cage, which would be an 8-9 pair. Well, how can we put... You can't put 2 positive. You can't put 8 and 9 in this cage because it'll break this square. So that means that this cage cannot have a negative digit in it, so it's entirely positive. And look what that's done to this digit. That digit, well, not that digit, but that that cell, well, firstly, this square has to be grey to avoid a 2 by 2. Sorry, to avoid a checkerboard. But then this has to get out to connect with its friends. And didn't we say that there has to be... Yeah, we said there has to be 2 positives in the 7 cage. So this is now positive. Therefore, we have to join it around the perimeter. This green hasn't connected to anything yet, so it's got to get out. So this green has to connect to this green somehow, and the green that lives over here. I've seen, look, we've got this 16 cages. Oh, these 2 16 cages. Yeah, I was very lucky. When I did the example and looked at this square, or looked at those 3 squares, I've hit upon something that's really important in the puzzle, which is that this beautiful 8-9 pair here are forcing all of those squares to be positive now. Because again, if we have a negative digit in there, then we have to have the positive 8-9 to offset it. So, what does that mean? I don't know yet, but it probably means something. Let's see. What's this digit? Can that be? I think this might have to be positive, because this digit, it can't be 8 or 9, can it? These, don't forget, these digits are different. They're in the same cage. This is an 8-9 pair. They look at this square. So this digit has a maximum value of 7, but it can't be 7. Because if it was 7, what would this digit be? It would have to be a 0, so it's definitely not 7. So it's a maximum of positive 6, yeah. So this digit is grey, which means that digit is green to avoid a 2 by 2. And that's right, I see. This is a brilliant puzzle, by the way, because it's not... What I love about puzzles that start like this is you read the rules and you think, my goodness, that sounds quite complicated. And then you spend a little bit thinking about it and you think, oh, well, I can just about see something that's constrained. But then once the puzzle starts to give you something, you know, the logic flows in this beautiful way. And look at this 27 cage now. It's got a negative digit in it. So how could these not all be positive? If there was any more negativity about this 27 cage, so then the maximum the 3 digits left over, the 3 positive digits left over could be, would be 24, from which we're deducting 2 more numbers. We can't get to 27 that way. So all of these have to be positive. And indeed, this has to be, well, hang on, there's loads going on now, because that can't be green, or I've got a checkerboard, so that's grey. That's got to be green to avoid a 2 by 2. That's now got to be grey, because that's a positive 7. That's got to be green, because otherwise we've got a 2 by 2. That's now got to be grey, because otherwise we've got a problem with making this 7 work. That's now got to be grey to avoid a checkerboard. This has got to be negative, because the 2 cage can't exist as a purely one colour. This green domino has... Look, the green domino has to escape. Oh, hang on, what's happened there with my colouring's gone strange. Oh, that's okay. Let's come back again. Oh, there's somebody at the door. That's slightly worrying. I'll risk continuing for a moment. This square's now got to be green. This has to get out, so all of those have to be green. wondering what that is. My puzzle nature takes priority over everything. Yeah, let's come back to that digit, because the maximum I can make those digits add up to is 30. If these were 6, 7, 8 and 9, they'd add up to 30. So to get back to 27, this cannot be greater than 3, can it? So this is 1, 2 or 3. This digit has to be 8 or 9. Oh dear, there's more gurglings going on. Because it must be greater than 7, so that when we subtract this digit from it, it equals the right number. The same is true here. That's got to be 8 or 9. That's got to be 1 or 2. We've got a 1, 2 pair in column 4. Oh, hang on. I'm going to just delete some stuff here because I've seen something else. Look at row 4 of the grid. It's a wall of shadedness, but this green has not connected. So we have to not only discover green, we have to connect green. So that must all be green. That's on the perimeter. There's green in one of these, so that green must connect. We don't yet know whether this is green or not. That's got to be grey to avoid a 2 by 2. This has got to be green to avoid a 2 by 2. That's got to be grey to avoid a 2 by 2. We can't have more than one grey in this, so that's got to be green. Connect the greens around the perimeter. Connect the greys to everything else. This green hasn't got out, so that's green. Connect the greens around the perimeter. Oh, look. This thing, this sort of extendable U-bend here, hasn't connected to anything, so it must connect. And now that's grey to avoid a 2 by 2. And, okay. Now, can we really have 2 negatives in a 5? Yes, actually you can. Sorry, I was thinking I could rule that out, but no. Imagine they were very small. So say we had 2 negatives, a 1 and a 2. Then actually you could offset that with an 8, couldn't you? Okay, this might be where we get stuck, I fear. But it's been going magnificently so far. Let's just give it a moment and consider what it is we're meant to be appreciating. I haven't got anything yet, I'm afraid. If at least one of these is green to avoid 2 by 2s. No, well, exactly. I suppose exactly one of those is. No, both of those could be green. That's fine. They both can't be grey. If this. Yeah, I'm going to do this a different way. What would happen if this was grey? If this was grey, then to get this green to connect to this green, we'd have to take everything negative in the 5 cage, and that won't work. There's got to be some positivity about this 5 cage. So that has to be green. And we know that the 7 cage must have 2 positives in it. So that's positive. That's positive in the corner to connect the greys. Avoid a checkerboard. Now I have got 2 greens in the 5 cage. So that's grey. Avoid a 2 by 2. Get this green to connect. And the 3 cage can't be all negative. So that's grey. And now the greens haven't connected. And that is the shading of the puzzle. That is absolutely brilliant. Honestly, that is brilliant. So now these have to be little, don't they? They can't be a 1-2 pair though. I feel like this 5 cage is forced. If the minimum value of these 2 digits now, because they can't be 1 and 2, is 1 and 3, and the maximum value of this digit is 9, so that is 9. And this is a 1-3 pair, and that's a 2, and that's a 1. This 3 cage looks looks completely broken to me, as does the 5 cage here. But presumably they're not. We just have to figure out what's going on. Oh, the 9 is giving me an 8 here. That's useful. because I can do the subtraction there and get that. So that's a 2, that's a 9. That's not a 2. Now, can we get these sorted out somehow? This is a rarity. The 16 cage and these two 16 cages and this 7 cage are real rarities because they actually work in terms of normal Sudoku. So we can think about these 3 cages normally. We can't think about the 27 normally because of this. And the 3 cage has got to have a digit that's negative here. That is at least a 4. So this is at least a 7. So that's 7 or 8. That's not going to be interesting for this cage, I don't think. But it's going to be interesting for this. You can't knock 8 out of here, surely. If this is 8, the maximum size of this would be 9765, which is 27. Which is not, that won't work. This would have to be a 0. Let me just check I've got that. 9, 7, because 7, 6 and 5 are 18, plus 9 is 27. And I can't write 0 in here. So this is 7. This is 4 by mathematics. This, I think, is going to have to be maxed out. Let's just put the maximum digits in and see if that's right. So what we've got there now is 28, which is perfect, because now I can make this a 1, and it will just work. Maybe row 3 now, where we need 5, 6 and 8 into the gaps. No, that's failed, hasn't it? And in column 5, we need all the low digits. We need 1, 2, 3 and 4. That can't be 1 or 2 by Sudoku. These can't be 4 by Sudoku. That can't be 1 by Sudoku. That can't be... Oh, I see. Oh, sorry. It's just Sudoku on 1s. I didn't see it, but it is. Let's see how... Can we do more with 1s then? Let's double click them and see. I mean, it's so anathema to look at a 7 cage and think it might not have a 1 in it. 3 cell 7 cage, but I don't think it has to. Because if this was a great big digit, if that was... Let's try and think of something that worked. If that... Oh, here... I've just had a really weird thought. You can't put 7... You can put 7 in, but not in the positive cells down here. If you put 7 in a positive cell, the implication of that is it's sort of reached its total already, and the other 2 digits would have to totally negate each other and be the same digit. So... that is almost interesting, actually. Not here, but in box 1 it's almost interesting. You can't put 7 in either of those squares. The thing is, I think that the crook, the point of the dog leg, if you like, I think that can be 7, because then these two have to add up to 14. And here they could be a 6-8 pair. Ah, okay. This digit does have to be quite large, doesn't it? Because it's got to be bigger than 5, but it can't be 9 or 8, so it is 6 or 7, and this digit is 1 or 2 then. So this is a 2, and therefore that's a 7. Sorry, that's totally obvious. The moment you think about it, oh look, this is all filling in, it dawns on you that it's obvious, but till you do, that's a 7 by Sudoku. I mean, it's outrageous, Leonhard, that you're making me do Sudoku in your Sudoku puzzle at such an early stage. We can't use the secret on this row, can we? The secret being that obviously the whole row adds up to 45, so we've got 27 plus at least that, plus 35. These, oh no, okay, so these either add up to 10 or 9. That's not useful. That's not as constrained as I was hoping. These can't be 9. So 9 is it definitely in this domino, in this column. So there's a 9 up here. How do we do this then? So this 7 cage is not a 3-4 cage. So it does have 1 or 2 in it. So that 1 or 2 is going to go there, and this digit's going to be 5 or 6, which is useful. There's a 5, 6, 8 triple in box 5. So the 8 of that triple is in this domino, which means these squares don't include 8. 5, 6, 8. So we need to place 3. Oh, these are 3 and 7. Is that useful? No. The technical term is no, it's not. Okay. This digit has got to be a 6, 7 or an 8. That digit, oh, again, it's that. That's so weird. That's totally resolved. That is now an 8 in the middle of the grid, apparently, from our pencil marking. That 8 sees that digit, so that's 9, therefore that's 8. These digits don't include 8, so this becomes an 8. 8 lives in a domino at the bottom of column 4. These squares are 3, 4 and 9. That's useful, because if that is right, that digit is no longer able to be 9, and we can place 9 in box 2. Now I can place 2 in box 2. Now these squares are a 5, 6 pair. And that's useful because, I don't know why, these are 3, 7 and 8 at the bottom. I'm really enjoying this puzzle. It's very original, isn't it? Right, these are from 4, 5 and 6. Is that helpful? They're in a 7 cage. So, if this digit is a 6, these have to add up to 13, and they'd have to be 5, 8. Because 4, 9 and 6, 7 isn't available. Might be possible. If this is 5, these add up to 12. So this would be 4, 8. So far this is always 8. If this is 4, they add up to 11. Oh, and this would be 5 or 6. Oh no. That didn't work. Oh, okay, sorry. That's broken down. Right, so it's probably not there that we're meant to look at next. 8's in one of those squares by Sudoku. We can't do anything with this 2 cage, can we? Because these, we said earlier, these have to have the same parity. Now, if they're even parity, they'd have to be 6 and 4, with the 6 being in the lower position. If they're odd parity, they'd have to be either 3, 5, with the 5 being low and the 3 being high, or 3, 1 doesn't work because we can't make this 3. So this is slightly, well, it gives us a 5, 6 pair in row 6. Oh, look, there's a 3 looking at that digit, didn't see that. So that's 7 and that's 3. So these 2 digits add up to 13 because this is a normal cage, isn't it? Right, okay. So these add up to 13. They're not 4, 9. So they must use 7 or 8, which must be in this position by Sudoku. So this square is 5 or 6. That gives me a 5, 6 pair here. It means these squares are from 1, 3 and 4 in the column. Looks like it totally breaks that cage. I've got a 5, 6 pair here, so I need 1, 2 and 4 into row 6. Oh, bobbins, I don't think this is going to work, is it? Wait a minute, what's going on with this cage? That digit, this is a 9, I think. That might be wrong, but I think it's a 9. The minimum value of this digit is 3, and the minimum value of this digit is 1. So those 2 digits, which are both negative, add up to at least 4, which means this is at least 8, but it can't be 8, sorry. So this is 9, isn't it? These add up to 5, and this digit is therefore 3 or 4. This digit is 1 or 2. 1-2 pair in that column makes that a 4, which means I get a 1-2 pair in box thingy thing, the technical term for box 4. These two squares add up to 12, and they are normal, so they are 5 and 7, because they can't be 4, 8, or 3, 9. I'm just pausing because I feel like that should be resolved, but I can't see why it is. It does give me that 6, which gives me a 5 here. This digit is known. That's a 3. Oh, I see. Look, this is doing things. This is a 9. That could have been available for a while. I just haven't been looking up there. So this corner digit is 5, 6, or 8 by Sudoku. Yeah, but if you look here, you've got 3 even digits and 1 odd digit. So the only way you could construct an odd digit out of that is using the odd digit that's available. So you can't put 5 in the corner and make 4, 6, and 8 somehow add up to 7. No, that doesn't actually help us though. Okay. Oh, well, I think we're getting closer. We just haven't quite figured it out yet. Where are 5 and 7 in this box? They've got to be a pair, haven't they, in these two squares? So these squares are from 1, 2, and 6. And that square can't be 1 or 2. Sorry, that's a naked single then. That's a 6. We've got a 1, 2 pair here. So this digit is 7 or 8. These digits are 3, 4, and 9, which is the same as those were. All right, that's nearly good, but not quite good enough. Okay, the value of the negative digit here is not 1, 2, 3, or 4, so it's at least 5. So these two digits have to add up to at least 12. Oh, the seagull noises. I get quite a lot of bird noises at home, but not many seagull noises. All right, now, okay, there's a 3 here, so we can tidy up our pencil marks at the bottom of this column. Is that useful? I don't know. It could be any number of things that I'm meant to be looking at here. Which cages is it likely to be that I've not looked at this 7 cage at all, but I don't relish it, to be honest. These squares are from 1, 2, 3, and 4. I suppose that means this digit is quite little. That's probably it. Yeah, let's have a think about that. Because didn't I just work out, this is at least a 5. So these are adding up to at least 12. So this can't be 1 or 2. And it can't be, if it's 3, this has to be 9, and it can't be. So I think that's a 4. I think that's probably what we're meant to discover. And now, how big can this be now? This can't be as big as 6, because then these would have to be 13, and we can't make this 9. So this is 5, that's 7, that's 5, that's 7. We need this to be 8 for the maths to work. Therefore, that's 8, that's 7. One of those is 7, which is, I'm going to come back to that, because that's exactly what I was worried about over here and then over here, but it's interesting there. I've got a 1, 2, 3 triple in this box, so that's a 6. This isn't 6. I don't know if you can hear the gulls. Okay, what does all that mean? I'm not sure, but is this really unresolved, all this stuff down here? Oh no, there we go. There's a 3 looking at this one. So this is a 2 by mathematics on this 4 cage. So that's a 3. No 3 in the corner. Bobbins. That becomes a 1. So that's a 6. So that's a 5. So that's a 9. That's a 6. Has that helped with everything over here? That's 6 now by Sudoku. So this is 4. So we were dealing in even digits. Now what did this have to add up to? This has got to be 8 by maths. So that's 7. Right, so that's an 8 in the corner of this box up here. So we're dealing with the numbers 4, 5 and 6. Yeah, so this can't be 6 anymore. It won't add up to enough. If that's 5, it won't add up to enough. So this is 4, I think. And then we can make these add up to 11 by being a 5, 6 pair. So that's useful, but it isn't actually solving it, is it? This 4 means I get a 1. Ah, that's useful. So I get a 3 at the bottom of the grid, a 1 here. These squares are a 4, 5 pair, which I think is unresolved extraordinarily enough. So, all right, let's come back to this point. So I was thinking earlier, if this was -7, how could that be right? These two would have the same positive and negative value to offset the perfect -7 that we had in this cell. So that can't be -7. This is +7, which apparently doesn't resolve anything. But, well, it gives me that digit. So now, this is a 5 by maths, which does do some things at the top. That 9 is going to be helpful. Look, 9, 3, 3, 1, 1, 2, 2, 5, 4, 4, 6. That is a beautiful puzzle. I'm just going to have a quick stare at it. Let me double click the colours. It looks good, doesn't it? I think it's probably right. Let's see. Yes, the solution is correct. 20 people have solved it, which is, well, it's not many, but that needs to go up a lot because that is a brilliant puzzle in my mind. Absolutely beautiful from start to finish. I love the yin-yang at the start. I love the idea with the 7 cages sort of pointing into the corners and trapping digits of a particular positivity or negativity onto the perimeter. That was beautiful. And then I really, really liked the way it flowed out from this 14 cage, and we could sort of keep pushing. It was either with the yin-yang or with the maths, and you could keep flowing. That's really good, Leonhard. Very, very nice indeed. I hope the comments reflect how wonderful that puzzle is. I enjoy the comments, especially when they're kind. And we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.